Joining us to discuss is former FBI agent and the author of the book Sheep No More, Jonathan Gilliam. Jonathan, I want to discuss this issue of the lack of vetting. Many of these people show up, perhaps very purposefully, without any real identification. We simply have to take their word for it about their name, how old they are, where they're from. Can you discuss the danger of this kind of chaos?
Well, let me just first start off by just making a statement about what the Border Patrol officer said right there. You know, this is no hit on him, but this is the dumbing down of law enforcement, because he is talking about a family that he knows nothing about, children that he knows nothing about, not being a threat, as opposed to people who are out there being aggressive with law enforcement. The fact is, as I learned in the SEAL teams working exclusively in Central South America in the late 1990s, early 2000s, is that there are threats all over the place down there in Central South America. There's doorways for threats to come in. There have been people coming in from Iran, Syria, and all other kinds of places, bad guys, terrorists that are looking for a way to get in, and they've always been able to exploit the southern border. This is why standard operating procedures exist, or should exist. You start at the very basic: woman, child. They seem like the least threat, but you don't know what their motivation is to get there. You don't know what's being held against them, where they came from. And as far as economic status goes, we're not doing anything to help improve the economic status of these nations where they're fleeing from. So right off the get-go, there's no cause and effect here. We're not doing anything to improve their way of life. We're opening up the floodgates. And right along with that are these people who've always been exploiting the southern border for the wrong reasons. Now they literally have an open invitation to come in, because these children, these women, they can also be people who are points of contact to vet the system, show how it can be worked, to show how many agents are there, and give intelligence back to the bad guys. All these things should be taken into perspective.
You know, as you're speaking, we're showing some footage there. We just were showing some footage of a ride-along this morning where they allowed media to join some of these CBP agents. We do know at least at one point there were 3 or maybe 4 individuals arrested who were on the terror watch list coming across the border there in Mexico from Yemen. And I know that you had some additional information on that count, people coming from other countries as well.
Right. Well, first off, you know, we've had a big problem over the past 20 years in war zones where people over in the Middle East have utilized the breakdown of the vetting system for people who want to come here because of asylum, to go through countries where there's literally no system to fingerprint them. And in cases where, this is the most astonishing thing, in cases where the DOD has been on the ground and done a where an attack has happened over in the Middle East, and they go there and they take the information, phone numbers, fingerprints, facial recognition technology, that is not shared with the Department of Homeland Security. So somebody shows up at a place over there, they may not be vetted, and they can come straight into the United States. The same thing is happening on the southern border. People who may have been involved in actual terrorist attacks in the Middle East, their information that is collected by the DOD is not shared with DHS. And so those people can come to the southern border and go straight across without any worry of being picked up on a DHS registry.
Jonathan, I want to ask you about this issue of empowering the cartels. We spoke to Mark Morgan earlier to this point, and he projects that at current rates, there's going to be literally a multi-billion-dollar windfall of payments from these illegal migrants, effectively taxes to illegally trespass into our country, that they will pay to the Mexican cartels, some of the most dangerous people literally in the entire world. Your thoughts about the future for the cartel and the kind of financial power that these policies are handing to them?
Look, I know people who've been in Central South America, and we're talking 10, 15, 20 years ago when the cartel was pretty much solely in drugs. I mean, they did dabble in other things as well. They had been in homes, just a random home in Central South America, where there were $100 bills stacked from the floor to the ceiling in every single room of the house, and all they could do is walk through in a little squeezed-in corridor between all this cash. That's the kind of money that these people make from drugs, from smuggling people across the border. This is the reality. We're talking about billions of dollars already, And now what you have is an unchecked system. It's just it's like a free fall for them. It's like the stock market hit the boom for these guys.
Well, and I worry, too, that the more that we empower the cartel, the worse things get in Mexico, the more pressure there is for people to come to the United States. So it can become self-fulfilling in the worst way.
Can I ask either one of you a question? Because the footage that we were just watching, some of the people that have been apprehended there at the border and they're waiting to take them to a processing facility, you could see a couple of those individuals were handcuffed. What would be a reason to handcuff just a couple of them right now before they're even processed?
Right.
Jonathan, do you know?
Yeah. So first of all, you don't know what the issue was that happened, how they were apprehended. Some of these people are adults and they don't have documentation for their children, and they may have been combative. They may have, these people may be showing up with some kind of preconceived notion that there's going to be nothing happen to them when they get to the border, and that's just not the case. So cuffs usually are a response to either they've done something wrong or they're showing the potential of a threat, and so they're cuffed.
It is a tense and dangerous situation, unfortunately. Jonathan Gilliam, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you all.
You bet.